Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of our 4-part Web ROI Tip of the Week series on search engine optimization. Last week, we talked about the importance of promoting your content for search engine optimization. In case you missed it, you can follow this link and have a listen. And this week, we've got Charlie Ford with us again, our in-house SEO specialist, and he's going to be talking about the state of SEO in 2020. In particular, with everything that's been going on this year and how COVID has been an impact. So here we are with Charlie, and welcome once again, Charlie.
Thank you.
So start us off, just tell us, how has COVID impacted search engine optimization?
It's impacted it in a couple ways. Firstly, immediately kind of after COVID really hit here, I'd say mid-March or so, there was a lot of search volatility. So SERPs and where certain websites were ranking was fluctuating quite a bit over the course of probably 6 weeks or so. So there wasn't a lot of consistency there, and people were trying to kind of figure out why their pages were ranking where they were, why it was climbing or falling or whatever the case is. So there has been a lot of volatility with that, with the way that things are ranking has fluctuated quite a bit. And in addition, search has just become very localized, with lots of users kind of consulting Google My Business to see, okay, is this place open right now? Are they delivering? Are they doing pickup? That kind of thing, or are they changing their hours? So those are kind of the biggest changes.
Charlie, you've indicated 5 SEO hot topics for 2020, and I'd like to dig into each of them. The first one was the advancement of AI, or artificial intelligence. Tell us about how AI is impacting search engine optimization and how it will impact the search engine results pages in particular.
So these were pointed out by Sarah Bird of Moz. These were kind of her hot topics for SEO in 2020. And the advancement of AI is probably the biggest one with Google's BERT update, B-E-R-T. And essentially, it's an advanced language understanding update. It's used, or they've used it in the past for things like voice search and that kind of thing. But what it does is it really just helps Google to understand context in search queries for words that may have multiple meanings. And as a result, they can generate better SERPs and better results for their users.
So it's really a matter of Google now not just understanding what are the words that you're using, but what is the meaning, what is the expectation or the context of your search, and what is the purpose behind that search?
Exactly. So I think we've all probably experienced it, where you search kind of a complicated query into Google, and they show you almost like the backwards result of what you were looking for. Say, for example, I'm looking to travel from the US to Brazil. Do I need a visa? And then instead they show you the results that say, oh, you're traveling from Brazil to the US. Here's what you need to know. So they kind of show you the opposite. So Google's BERT update has worked to correct that and just better understand context and generate better results.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then you talk about entities. Can you explain to us what are entities and why is it important? And what would you suggest that we do about it?
Entities, put simply, are just kind of the things or the main subjects of your site. So Google needs to be able to determine when they're crawling your content, whether it's text or video, what are they talking about here? What is the goal? And as a result, if Google, of course, needs to be able to clearly understand what you're talking about in order to help rank your website properly.
And then what about the SERPs themselves, the search engine results pages? You say that search engine results pages have changed. We'd like to know what specifically has changed about them, and how does this impact the results that businesses can expect from their search engine optimization?
Well, they've changed gradually over the last probably 5 years or so. It used to be you'd see just the 2 kind of paid ads there at the top, and then you'd see the 10 traditional organic links right there below. Nowadays, you're seeing a lot more, especially for local searches. You see the map listing pack that shows 3 local businesses, which you can then expand. For some searches, you'll see featured snippets, they show you the text answer right there on the SERP, so you don't have to click into the link. And even things like hotel listings, flights, Google's trying to show all of that themselves nowadays, rather than sending you to other websites.
And then you talk, the 4th point you made here is the location of the searcher. Why is Why is location more important now than before, and what specific steps should marketers take?
It's just kind of going back to the last point, just because local search has taken off so much and Google My Business has become so important. That's kind of the biggest thing. And what you need to do is just optimize that Google My Business profile as much as you can. Make sure you have every single service listed. Make sure you have every single service area listed. Add a sufficient amount of photos. Request reviews. That's the biggest thing. Reviews are a huge ranking factor, both the number of them and the overall star rating. So really just optimizing that Google My Business. And then as far as on-site, make sure your content is locally optimized as well. If you're located in Guelph, make sure Guelph is mentioned in your content.
What if you have multiple locations? What if you're located in Guelph, but you want to service KW and maybe even here in Milton, and let's say you go down south into Oakville and Burlington?
There's a couple ways to do it. You should optimize for all areas. And that can be done kind of on one page mentioning multiple areas, or you could create multiple pages, one for each location. So if you want to show up in a certain area, it makes sense to optimize your content for that area.
So what would be the best strategy for a company that covers a service area, but let's say they're located in Georgetown and they really want their business from Oakville, but they don't have a physical location in Oakville? How can they get around that? With Google My Business, it's really going to only enable them to optimize locally in Georgetown because they don't have an address in Oakville, but they really want the customers to come from Oakville. So how can companies work around that?
There's a couple ways to do it on Google My Business. Even if you're located in Georgetown, for example, you can still set Oakville as a service area. You can do that with or without a Georgetown address. So if you don't have a physical address, on Google My Business listings, you'll see kind of the map outlined of the service area. And that's one way to do it. And then on-site, like I said, if you want to target Georgetown, Oakville, Burlington, you can mention all that on the page, and Google will pick it up, and you'll rank higher there as a result.
Okay. And then the final point you made here is new Google search experiences. Tell us a little bit about these new experiences.
Yeah, so just kind of like they've always done, Google is kind of experimenting with new products and trying to stay on the cutting edge of search. One of the major things that they've come out with or starting to roll out is Google Lens, which is a visual search. This is also something that Pinterest and Snapchat are doing. Essentially, you can kind of hold your phone up and have a camera screen, and that'll pick up on a particular product or whatever the case is, and then you'll see product listings, articles, reviews for that product.
Charlie, over the years, we've seen a lot of things that new creative tools and products that Google has come up with, and quite frankly, a lot of them have fallen by the wayside. They just haven't taken off. You look at things like Google Plus, for example, to compete with Facebook and Twitter. It was supposed to be the big Google social media giant, and it just never happened. And frankly, I don't think it ever will. So what makes you think that these new experiences are gonna have any lasting effect?
I mean, the reality is these might not stick around either. They may go same way as Google Plus. We've heard about voice search it's felt like it's been on the precipice of blowing up for a couple of years now, and it still really hasn't. So I'm sure it will at some point. We're still kind of waiting to see on that. Google Lens could become this huge thing. But like I said, Pinterest and Snapchat are doing the same thing. So if theirs works better, then you may see Google Lens kind of fade out as well. So it's kind of hard to tell what's gonna stick around and really become a big part of Google's product offerings in the future.
Excellent. Well, Charlie, thanks very much for sharing this week the state of SEO in 2020. We appreciate your time today. And please stay tuned next week as we go into part 3, and we'll be talking more about Google My Business since it's such an important topic. Thanks again, Charlie, for your time today.
Thank you.